Allen Lund Company has new offices in Ogden, Utah and Indianapolis, Indiana. Check allenlund.com to reach them.
OOIDA, representing America's truckers since 1973, presents Landline Now with your host, Mark Redding.
Are those glimmers of hope we see in the freight market? We've been promising that better days are coming, and new data suggest that they are, probably, or maybe. Andrew King of the OOIDA Foundation injects some realistic expectations into the conversation, and he says some metrics in the Foundation's most recent market analysis are improving, but we still have a ways to go. There are a lot of things that you can do and a lot of parts you can replace to give your rig a little shine. But the old expression says to always put your best foot forward, or in this case, the first thing people see as your truck approaches, your bumper. But how can you spice that up? I'll talk with Bryan Martin of the Chrome Shop Mafia. And finally, Marty Ellis is getting an earful from truckers about a new form small businesses have to file with the federal government, controversy over numbered parking spaces at Love's locations, and concerns over towing fees. I'll talk with the man who drives the spirit of the American trucker. But first, the news with Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Mark. Our top story today. Low rates continue to wreak havoc on the trucking industry. According to the latest numbers from the Bureau of Labor Statistics, more than 2,000 trucking jobs were eliminated from the economy in July. It's the fourth consecutive monthly loss, which was preceded by a 5-month growth streak. David Spencer, Vice President of Market Intelligence at Arrive Logistics, told Landline that the losses are a symptom of an extended period of poor trucking spot rate conditions. Although greener pastures are somewhere on the horizon, Spencer predicts more job losses before we reach that point. Accounting for all transportation sector jobs, employment rose by 14,000 jobs. Across all industries, employment increased by 114,000 jobs, much lower than projected. The unemployment rate rose for a fourth consecutive month to 4.3%. The last time unemployment was that high was October of 2021. The U.S. Department of Transportation is withdrawing a final rule regarding oral fluid testing. In May of last year, the DOT announced amendments to the drug and alcohol testing program that would have given employers and drivers an oral fluid testing option when taking an agency-issued test, but no more. The DOT said Thursday it was pulling the final rule after what they called adverse comments in response. Many cited increased costs, a lack of certified collectors, and delayed results as concerns. Florida is bracing for impact this weekend. Tropical Storm Debbie is making its way through the Gulf of Mexico. Landfall in Florida is expected on Saturday evening. Multiple days of heavy rain and flooding are in the forecast. The Weather Prediction Center is expecting what they call very intense rainfall rates of up to 3 inches an hour in some places. Governor Ron DeSantis has declared a state of emergency for more than 50 counties. As the remnants of Debbie move north, heavy rainfall and flooding are expected in parts of Georgia and the Carolinas on Sunday. The Equal Employment Opportunity Commission has filed a lawsuit against a Missouri trucking company for refusing to hire a truck driver because he is deaf. The EEOC lawsuit says the applicant has a commercial driver's license and an exemption from regulatory hearing requirements. He applied for work with Wilson Logistics, but says he was told during a job interview that the company couldn't hire somebody who doesn't read, write, and speak English. The company rep also reportedly said the company does not hire people who communicate through sign language. If proven, that's a violation of the Americans with Disabilities Act. A truck driver who had been deported from the U.S. 16 times before being blamed for a deadly crash in Colorado has pleaded guilty to multiple charges. Ignacio Cruz Mendoza had been facing vehicular homicide charges but struck a deal, pleading guilty to 4 misdemeanors. Cruz Mendoza was behind the wheel of a semi in June when he lost control, spilling a load of metal onto several cars on Highway 285 in Jefferson County, Colorado. 1 person was killed. Investigators later said Cruz Mendoza had been deported 16 times before the crash and that the company he was working for had a history of hiring unlicensed drivers. Court documents show Cruz Mendoza pleaded guilty this week to 1 count of careless driving, resulting in death, and 3 counts of careless driving resulting in injury, all misdemeanor traffic charges. He's set to be sentenced on August 30th. 2 people who took part in a human smuggling operation that involved a trucking business are headed to federal prison. The 2 non-U.S. citizens pleaded guilty in a Texas court in March to trafficking and money laundering charges. They admitted to being part of a criminal organization that used a trucking business as a front to smuggle people into the country, then hold them against their will until their families paid for their release. The organization referred to the people as products. The FBI's field office in San Antonio said in a news release that the two were recently sentenced to 20 years in federal prison and will be deported after serving those sentences. A truck driver and one other person are facing federal charges following an undercover drug trafficking sting in Massachusetts. Federal prosecutors said in a news release that authorities caught wind of a trafficking operation that was planning to transport drugs from California to the Boston area. An undercover agent reached out and struck a deal to buy 65 pounds of meth. The exchange took place in Andover, at which time the two suspects were arrested. On top of the meth that was seized, authorities said they found nearly 900 pounds of cocaine inside the semi the suspects arrived in. Estimated street value $10.5 million. Both suspects face up to 20 years in prison. Another superload will be taking up roadways in Ohio next week. The Ohio Department of Transportation says a 15th of nearly 24 superloads will leave from a dock on the Ohio River near Manchester on Wednesday, August 7th. It's an air processor known as a cold box that's used in the silicon chip manufacturing process. The 916,000-pound load measures about 23 feet tall, 20 feet wide, and 280 feet long. The superload will make multiple stops along multiple highways on its 7-day journey to a new Intel plant in New Albany in Licking County. ODOT warns that past superloads have caused significant traffic delays and to expect more of the same this time around. The semifinalists for this year's Transition Trucking Driving for Excellence Award have been announced. 15 people are now up for the award, which has been recognizing America's top military rookie driver since 2016. The competition is open to veterans, Guard members, and reservists who have made the successful transition to the trucking industry following military service. For the 9th consecutive year, the grand prize winner will get a fully loaded T680 courtesy of Kenworth. Public voting will open in November, and the grand prize winner will be announced in December. For more information and to check out the 15 semifinalists, we've got a link at landlinenow.com. And the Women in Trucking Association has opened the nomination window for its 2024 Influential Woman in Trucking Award. The award was created in 2010 to honor women in the transportation industry who make or influence key decisions and serve as a role model to other women in the industry. Last year's winner was Shelley Simpson, president of J.B. Hunt Transport Services. Nominations will be accepted through September 11th. The winner will be announced at the WIT Accelerate Conference and Expo held in Dallas in November. And finally, Love's Travel Stops has a new location in southern Georgia. It's in Valdosta on Interstate 75, just north of the Florida border, and includes 111 truck parking spaces. This is Love's 20th location in Georgia. That's Landline Now News for today. I'm Scott Thompson.
Thanks, Scott. A reminder that the Commercial Vehicle Safety Alliance's annual Brake Safety Week will take place from August 25th through the 31st. During that week, inspectors across the U.S. and Canada will be checking all braking systems with a special focus this year on brake linings and pads. For more information about the event, go to cvsa.org. Again, that website, cvsa.org. Marty Ellis and OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker, are at the Shiawassee County Truck Show. That takes place in Corona, Michigan. Stop in, say hi to Marty, and join OOIDA for a $10 discount. Do you have a news tip? Or maybe you have a comment about something you heard on the air? Email us at landlinenow@ooida.com. Next, Scott Thompson discusses the reality behind Glimmers of Hope in the freight market with Andrew King of the OOIDA Foundation. I'll find out how you can give your rig's bumper a little sparkle from Bryan Martin of the Chrome Shop Mafia. And Marty Ellis talks about a new form small businesses will have to file, numbered parking spaces at Love's, and more. I'm Mark Reddig, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Every year, 28 million people are trafficked globally. The Your Roads, Their Freedom campaign seeks to raise awareness in the transport industry. Truck and bus drivers, be vigilant on the roads. If you see something suspicious, text 233-733 or be free.
Truckdown.com. Whenever you have a breakdown, you need truckdown.com. 24/7 access to 40,000 verified heavy-duty repair vendors nationwide. Less weight, more freight. Truckdown.com.
Firestone tires are for more of everything, with more durability for more miles and more confidence in your fleet. Firestone's tested tires help fleets save with value where it matters most. Learn more at bridgestonenationalfleet.com/4moremiles.
It's tested and proven. Burn 2.1% less fuel when you balance all wheel ends with Centromatic. Call 800-523-8473 to get the OOIDA discount.
Landline Now, welcome back. It's been a little while since we've checked in on market conditions with our friends at the OOIDA Foundation. Their report with data from June is hot off the presses, and joining us with details is Assistant Director of the Foundation, Andrew King. Andrew, how you doing?
I'm doing good.
Got a lot to talk about here, a lot of ground to cover. I'm not going to count any chickens quite yet, but it looks like we're starting to see maybe we're going to talk about it. Maybe some glimmers of hope here.
Yes.
Not rays of sunshine, but glimmers. You may have to talk me down a little bit, Andrew. But we've got seasonal factors at play here, obviously. But I'm looking at the chart that tracks spot and contract rates for van, reefer, flatbed. We're seeing some changes here that are positive. Is that safe to say?
Yes.
Okay.
You can definitely say that. I mean, start with even just the load to truck ratio. For van, for example, the last 2 months, not only has it increased, but it's been quite a substantial increase. The previous month it was 24%, and then this last one is 7.5%. So those are positive trends. That's very good. And of course, that means that there are more loads than trucks. That means demand is increasing. And that seems to be the sentiment in some areas. It's not everywhere, but there are some blips of this that demand is ticking upward. And that obviously has a positive relationship with rates. And so we saw rates for vans increase 4 cents per mile month over month. And that's 2 consecutive months of increases. Obviously, we'd like to have more than 2 to say,
Sure.
hey,
Yeah.
But it's good. And actually, the more encouraging thing with that, and this might seem strange, but it's that contract rates decreased. So you have spot increasing, contract decreasing, and that means the spread between the two shrank, and it shrank quite a bit. And it's much better than it has been. If you look at the chart, you can see the steady decline slowly of that spread kind of shrinking and shrinking and shrinking more. And we need that to happen, as we've talked about several times, in order to see the next upcycle. And then the same thing's true with well, not flatbed, but reefer. Same kind of dynamic is that you're seeing this uptick over the last quite a few months. And in fact, when you look over at load to truck ratios for reefer, the last 5 out of 6 months have seen year-over-year increases, and that's really positive. That's good. Some of that has to do with just, comparison to previous year. Sometimes if it's a tough year, then that makes this look better, but it's still good overall. It increased almost 12% month over month, and that also had a positive impact on rates. It ticked up for spot for reefer 2 cents per mile to $2.44. It's still a little down compared to last year, but it's not by much. And again, that contract to spread or spot to contract spread contracted, which again is a good thing. That's what we're really looking for. Now, flatbed is the only outlier here, and that's mainly because it typically goes down during this time of year.
Sure.
It has that peak run up to the beginning of the year, and then now we're kind of on a downhill slide, and that will probably continue. So over the last few months when we've come and we've talked, flatbed was the lone bright spot. At least it wasn't as bad, I guess you'd say, as some of the others. But that too is starting to come down.
So I think an ongoing theme of our talk here for the next several minutes is going to be, we've got positive signs here.
Yes.
However, but, we're going to keep kind of going back and forth between these things. You are a very pragmatic person, I know. I am seeing out there and hearing out there from experts, analysts, there's kind of a buzz that, hey, it's about to start. We're getting there. We're seeing the positive signs, and any day now, any week now, whatever, it's going to be, here we go. We're off to the races. I know you are not quite as optimistic about that because, again, I think you're realistic about what you're seeing out there.
Yes.
There are signs, right? We're seeing some little signs here and there, but this is going to be a long road, right?
Yes.
What are you seeing out there with the data that kind of tells you that?
Absolutely, I agree. And you brought up just before we started talking here about an article where it really highlighted mostly retail trade data and things like that. You know, what's happening in stores.
And they were talking
it's
by
like
the end
any
of this
moment.
year.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I'm not, obviously we love to see that, but it's
possible.
important to
It's possible,
understand some things about freight. And this, even to me, and I'm always learning, right? And even this, I've only been doing this a few years, and I'm always learning new things. But when I first came into this freight economy type of analysis and research, I thought that what happens in retail sector really has a big impact on demand for trucking overall. And that actually is not true. I'm not saying it doesn't play any factor, but it's nowhere near what manufacturing and wholesaling does. So business to business type of transactions. Now, obviously, they're doing that in order to meet their customers' needs, but it's that business to business that really generates a bulk of the freight. And so, yes, it's nice when you see good retail numbers, but that isn't the whole story, and you need to look at other data points besides just that. And what they say overall, while there are a few things here that are good, and you could cherry pick those and say we're on the verge of an upcycle, when you look at demand overall, it's still kind of muted. There are positive directions, but we still are looking for things to change. I know we've talked about this before, but for example, inflation does play a role. I've just talked to a member about that today. Obviously, the Fed looks at inflation very closely, and that impacts how they set the interest rates. And that helps drive investment, business-to-business activity, that sort of thing, which is good for generating freight. Same with housing. Obviously, housing improves when the interest rate is down. And so far, obviously, they have set that rate steady. It hasn't changed.
Right. Yep.
Perhaps in September, maybe they'll lower it. Maybe.
We'll underline that
but
word.
last time that they spoke, they said that they're only going to lower rates once this year. And at the start of 2024, if you remember, they were indicating that it might be 2 or 3 times they would lower the rate. They haven't done that because inflation has still been difficult to bring under control.
Yeah.
So that needs to happen to really break into the next upcycle. And that's, unfortunately, might take a little bit.
Yeah, and again, I think it's a realistic take based on everything that we know and everything we've seen over the past several months and last couple of years, to be honest. Looking at the data here from the June report specifically, again, we're seeing some of these positive signs here,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
There are plenty of signs, though, that are less than encouraging, and we were talking earlier as well about OOIDA members who are sitting right now. They're waiting for things to come back up on an upswing. And as far as you can see here from the data, there are a number of points that are still very concerning, and it makes it very clear that people are still, a lot of people struggling out there. Right?
Yes, absolutely. One of the positive things I have seen here just the last few months is even industrial production overall, so manufacturing. When you take out pharmaceuticals and computer and electronics, just because they cost a lot of money, but they don't really generate a lot of freight, there are some positive trends. It has been ticking upward, which is good, but there still is more. We need more of that to really take place in order for demand to increase, which ultimately will impact everything else. And so the chart that I sent out here just recently showing van load to truck ratio, and it was year over year. And you could see that there is naturally this peak that happens around June or one of the peaks. Mm-hmm. There's a couple peaks. That's a big one when we're building up to the 4th of July. And so we're seeing that take place. During the pandemic, there was this lack of seasonality. Things were just going crazy. It was like nothing we'd seen before. It wasn't following the normal seasonal pattern. Well, 2024 has really got back to normal, which is actually, that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And so we should expect normally to see an increase between April and June when produce season really starts. That also impacts van. And you normally see that pick up. And that's what happened. It has increased. But then when you compare it to previous years, it's fairly muted compared to what we've seen in the past. So that's why I'm still hesitant, where it's, yes, these are good signs. That's great. But we should be expecting this. We would need an even greater bump in order to really see that upcycle start, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. Yeah, and as I'm listening to you talk, I keep coming back to this, and I don't think there's a clear answer, and maybe you'll correct me if I'm wrong here, but again, we have been for the past couple years, we keep looking for glimmers of hope and a sign that something is going to change, that we're going to see improvements here. You mentioned inflation. I know there are so many moving parts here, but is there a particular thing that you are going to be looking for in the next couple months that is really going to tell you, and you're going to feel more confident after seeing it and say, okay, here we go? And is there one thing? I mean,
there's probably a couple.
Okay,
the manufacturing that I just mentioned, the industrial production, is definitely a big one. But to go along with that, I would use CAS, their shipment index, and their truckload line haul index. And the reason I'm saying that, and I know they mainly measure volume. So CAS does 25 million. I think it's even greater than that. It does a lot of freight, handles a lot of freight, not just trucking, other freight as well. But it gives you a pretty good barometer for demand overall, because its data set is so large and so encompassing, which is what you need for something like this. So seeing that change, especially year over year, to see it tick upward. And the same with, we've talked with Jason Miller before, and he has a truck mileage tonnage index that he puts out monthly, and that's also one that I follow. You need to see that year over year percentage increase a couple percents, really, in order for us to see that next upcycle take place. And so that's something to really watch very closely, because that impacts other things. And I've been doing some research on our current active member paying dues, those who are active members, and looking over year over year percentages and comparing that with other metrics in the industry. And there are some positive signs, actually, where our membership really follows with the market cycle. And while we're still in negative territory, it is trending really fast to that 0% to break into positive territory. And that, to me, is a strong indicator that things have changed. So we're not there yet, but we are getting closer. And so there have been a number of people who have stated that that next upcycle might not happen until second quarter of 2025.
Right.
And I'm thinking that and not that I'm the guy, I'm not a guru. I don't have a magic 8-ball or something like that, but it seems very likely, very probable to me anyway, that we will see that upcycle take place in 2025.
Early 2025. First half of early 2025.
Oh, yeah. That's my...
And maybe we'll underline and put that in bold and italicize it or whatever. Maybe even sooner.
Yes, again, you never know what will happen. There can be all sorts of things that can occur, regulations, or even, God forbid, natural disasters and things like that all do play a role in this freight economy. It's really like this web of things that are all tied together, and it can be difficult to decipher.
It's been very difficult to decipher over the past couple of years, for sure, and it's been a hard slog. It really has. So,
and I hope next time that we come together, like we've said it many times, but we're almost getting to that point where we really can start giving positive news.
Yeah, we're gonna get there. We are gonna get there. It's just a matter of time. But it's just been such a hard slog, and I know it's frustrating for so many people out there. Understandably so, because it's their livelihood. But again, that's why this information, I think, is so important and powerful, because it really does paint a picture of where we are, where we want to be, and what we need to do to get there.
Right.
Andrew, we appreciate your time as always. OOIDA.com/foundation is the place to go for more of this research. We appreciate it. We'll talk to you soon, Andrew.
Thank you.
We'll take a quick break, but Landline Now continues right after this.
Today's rising costs affect everyone. Replace your harmonic damper with a genuine Vibertech TVD viscous damper to prevent costly repairs and downtime. Keep your money in your pocket and your truck on the road with Vibertech TVD. Recommended replacement at 500,000 miles or 15,000 hours.
Ready to make more money? Use a better load board. For a limited time, get 50% off TruckStop Load Board Pro. Just go to truckstop.com/go and enter promo code READY2024 when you purchase Load Board Pro.
Are you tired of the IRS following you around like a dark cloud? Call 888-557-4020 and get your life back.
Landline Now. Thanks for joining us today. I'm your host, Mark Reddick. It's time for another installment of Mafia Secrets, Advice from the Boss Man, with Bryan Martin of 4 State Trucks, home of the Chrome Shop Mafia. Well, our topic today, Bryan, is 5 options you might consider for your front bumper. And the last time around, we talked about putting chrome on the bumper, and I would think that that would be one of those options. Is that one on your list?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we talked a little bit on this on a previous segment, but whether you've got a 2023 Kenworth or a 1974 Peterbilt, there is a custom chrome front bumper for your truck in 99% of the instances, I can assure you. The cool thing about the aftermarket bumpers is, if you've got a late model aerodynamic truck, your bumper is probably plastic. It's probably black, gray, or the color of your truck, and you just look like every other truck on the road. So whether you're a square-hooded truck or an aerodynamic truck, you can get a shiny chrome or stainless steel bumper, and you can usually go a little taller. Like say if your polyplastic factory bumper on your Kenworth T680 is 16 inches tall, you can probably go with an 18-inch or a 20-inch chrome, and it really kind of gives your truck a custom look. It looks like, you're starting down that trail and kind of sprucing the old girl up, making her look a little bit less like a company truck, less than a truck you'd see on a used truck lot. And it's like, man, this is my machine. I'm gonna start customizing it. So there's a bumper out there for almost every model on the road in an aftermarket shiny bumper. So why not go for it? I mean, it's the first thing you see when you walk out to get in your truck every day. It's the first thing everybody sees about your truck at any four-way stop or intersection or truck stop. So it's definitely, your eyes gravitate to that big shiny bumper for sure. So why not?
Okay. Well, let's go on to the number 2 bumper option here. And what comes up second on your list?
Well, for years, we just sold the bumpers, and, guys might put a turn signal light, one out on each end, or, we may cut 4 ovals in it and put 4 oval clearance lights. But now there are so many cool light bulbs, so many cool light styles out there that a lot of these we can order from the manufacturer. Like if you want 20 lights across the bottom of it, we can get it cut from the factory. We can certainly do it here, and most other chrome shops could as well, but okay, now you're buying a bumper and you're paying shop labor so they can either cut or drill holes in it. So a lot of our manufacturers have a really neat light options, light spacings, light quantities, and light styles. So I think, deciding if you want to light that baby up or if you want to keep it, clean and simple with just one light out on each end, we're putting underglow lighting on bumpers now, so it kind of lights down there underneath the bumper on the pavement, under the engine, and that gives it, kind of a cool effect that's still a little bit unique. So I think figuring out if lighting is for you, what do you want this thing to look like? You want to go big, a light every 3 inches with, 33 lights in it on this bumper? Do you want to keep it mild with, a dozen lights? It's really infinite, the amount of lighting configurations that you could dream up. And us here at 4 State Trucks, or, any other place that sells bumpers, can probably make your vision a reality with lighting options on these chrome bumpers.
You mentioned the underglow. which I always think is cool. It makes it look like it's hovering there sometimes. But
yeah,
that kind of reminded me, we had a conversation a long time ago about those, and there are some cases where you can maybe be getting in a problem as far as being street legal. Are there any considerations when you're talking about adding lights to a bumper that you need to think about in terms of staying street legal, or are you pretty safe there?
Well, it's common knowledge that everything facing forward needs to be amber. Every light facing backward needs to be red when the truck's in operation. So if your underglow is, blue or green or something like that, and you wouldn't believe how many dual color underglows we do. With some of the new lighting, it can change colors. It can go from amber, so you could have amber underglow while you're rolling down the highway working. And then if you back in to hang out at the truck stop or take a nap or take a shower, you can conveniently flip a switch and you can turn all of your underglow to blue or purple or green or whatever your main accent color is. So although you're not supposed to, I do see it relatively frequently where a guy's running 70 mile an hour, but he's got his blue underglow or blue lights in the back of the sleeper. Technically, I think that could be a violation and you could get a warning or a ticket. But there's a lot of really cool options for color changing underglow. We probably do color changing underglow more than we do just straight amber.
Oh my gosh, that sounds wonderful. And I'm so glad that we have that option now of lights that can change color. I mean, it's not that many years ago that was science fiction.
Oh, yeah. And I keep thinking we just come out with, trucks came out, TRUX came out with the dual revolutions just the other day, but they had to remind me the other day, they've had those for almost 10 years. They've been around a while, but we're both getting older, and yesterday was not exactly just a few moments ago. A lot of times it was 6 or 7 years.
There you go. Well, let's move on to your number 3 here, Bryan. They've all been pretty interesting, so I'm kind of curious what comes next.
Well, on a front bumper, you can always just get out your 1/4-inch drill bit, drill 2 holes, and put your license plate on it. But there's a lot of pretty neat license plate brackets. A lot of people call them a swing bracket, so it's on a hinge. But more so, it's the rigid ones. They got they're stainless, got a little bit of styling and kind of an edge around the license plate. There's just a lot of cool license plate brackets, license plate frames. A lot of times you may put your state license plate on the front. You may put a custom, if you're a Peterbilt plate. If you're a Freightliner plate, Kenworth, and so on. So I think a moderate license plate frame bracket treatment is there again. It's nothing that's going to break the budget. And it's kind of like we've already spent $500 to $1,000 on a bumper. Why wouldn't we spend $80 on a cool license plate bracket and frame? So that's my logic here, and give it even a skosh more of a custom look to it.
Well, and some of those really have attitude. I remember seeing one a while back, and it was basically a rectangle made out of skulls, and it was all chrome. and you really can get some cool things like that, can't you?
Oh, you can. And a lot of the automotive stuff carries right over. Of course, some of the automotive sites have, 40 different styles of license plate frames. Hey, those will work on your truck just fine. A license plate's a license plate. I know here at our chrome shop, we've probably got 20 styles, and we by no means have everything that's available. So there's some really fun stuff, even down to your sports team, or if you were in the armed forces. You can really get a really nice, fun license plate frame for sure.
One thing that I kind of thought of on that, we talked about being street legal a moment ago with the lights. Is there a certain amount of that license plate that has to be visible? Because some of these license plate frames that I've seen, they really kind of impinge on the actual content of the license plate. Are those a problem?
I have had that same thought. A lot of them, once you get the frame on, I've just noticed, walking through truck shows and through parking lots for that matter, you can't really see the expiration date or anything like that. So I'm sure there has to be some sort of requirement, but I couldn't quote what it is. But some of it, those thick, very heavy artistic frames do cover a concerning amount of the license plate. I agree with you.
Okay. Well, let's go on to your number 4 item here, and they've all been very interesting so far. What is number 4?
Well, this is going to be largely aimed at the square hooded trucks. So this is going to be your Peterbilt 379s, 389s, your Kenworth 900s and 900Ls, and your Freightliner Classic and Western Stars, things with the traditional bumpers on it. But for most of those trucks there, we offer the bumper with sort of the factory bolt holes in it. So you could either reuse your nuts and bolts, take your factory bumper off, put on your custom bumper. But we also carry those in what we call a blind mount. So it comes with, or in some cases, you have to buy an extra, we'll call it a universal hidden mounting plate. And you remove your factory bumper, put the mounting plate on the front of your truck. Then your blind mount bumper, which literally has no holes in it. So it's just a smooth, slick, sleek sheet of chrome. And it kind of slides over the top and bottom of your hidden bracket. Usually you drop 2 bolts down in the top lip of the bumper, put 2 bolts up in the bottom lip of the bumper. So it's just a clean, open canvas of chrome. There's no hardware or anything that distracts from the blind mount, no fasteners, sleek look. So for the square hooded trucks, there's some pretty cool blind mount options, and you can get them 18 inches tall, 20 inches tall, 22 inches tall, which, some trucks set up high, and you can actually get by almost 365 days a year with a 22-inch bumper. Not many of them, but some of them do set rather high, and that's fine. But 20 inches, very popular. 18 inches, very popular. To give you some comparison, most of those square-hooded trucks probably left the factory with a 16-inch bumper on them. So like the sun visor, that taller bumper gives it a little bit more of a personality, of an attitude, make the truck look a little bit cooler.
Oh, absolutely. That makes a statement coming down the road.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
Okay. Well, let's just get on to number 5 here, and just tell us what that one is.
Say that again?
Tell us what number 5 is.
Oh, I thought you said don't flip out. Well, because that was it. I thought, wow, did we talk about this? But again, for the square-hooded trucks, Peterbilt's, Kenworths mainly, you can get a flip kit. So if you do have that 20 or 22-inch bumper, and it's a little lower to the ground than you're comfortable with, and you see a road hazard coming in time, you can hit a switch and flip the bumper up and gain more ground clearance and get over that chug hole or that, whatever obstacle is in the road, and hopefully not destroy your bumper. But the flip kits, they're just fun. You can pull into the truck stop going through some little chug holes and stuff and flip that thing up, pulling up to the fuel island, and several people will usually look and jaws will drop, and it's like, wow, how cool is that, a flip bumper kit? But for several of the trucks out there that I've mentioned, Kenworth, Peterbilt, Freightliner, there are flip kits or even lift kits to allow you to, from the comfort of your driver's seat, hit a switch. That bumper will either flip up and gain ground clearance or move outward and then upward. We call that a lift bumper. There's some geometry and some support arms on that. And you can have fun, but also, if you're off-road at a job site, rough terrain, chug holes. I mean, if you would see a recap coming in time on the highway at road speed, you could flip your bumper or lift your bumper and avoid damage in it. But the lift kits are pretty popular as well.
Yeah, they sound like a lot of fun, although I can see someone trying to use one to hide their license plate at a toll bridge or something.
Right. Oh, don't think that hasn't been tried. Don't think that hasn't been tried.
Well, Bryan, we are out of time. It's been a wonderful discussion and a lot of wonderful options here. But meanwhile, thank you very much for all the information.
Hey, you bet. Anytime. Y'all be good.
If you have questions, you can call 4-State Trucks at 1-888-875-7787, or you can go to their website, 4statetrucks.com. That's the number 4, statetrucks.com. We'll be right back. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Penske owns and operates some of the best-maintained vehicles on the planet. Our used trucks come with a 5-year maintenance report and pre-sale inspection. So if you're in the market for a top-quality pre-owned truck, look no further. Search our inventory today at PenskeUsedTrucks.com.
Control your toll costs and eliminate tolling headaches with Prepass Tolls. Prepass Tolls means toll volume discounts. Just one invoice for all tolls and fewer violations. Call 877-878-5970 or go to prepass.com.
Since you started, what you've loved about trucking is the freedom. Heading out on your favorite route, a good driving song, and thinking about truck insurance. Well, maybe not that last one. That's why we're here. At OOIDA, we have a full range of truck insurance products, expert advice, and great customer service, helping you get the right coverage for your operation. Go to OOIDA.com, because your job is to drive. Our job is to help with everything else.
Landline Now, welcome back. Every week we check in with Marty Ellis, who drives OOIDA's tour truck, the Spirit of the American Trucker. Marty and the Spirit are in the full midst of truck show season. However, in the meanwhile, he's hearing from truckers about several topics, including a new form small business truckers have to file with the federal government, controversy over numbered parking spaces at Love's locations, and concerns over towing fees.
Carolina west to Denver, up to Bangor, west to Austin, coast to coast, sea to sea, sail on, sail on.
Well, Marty, how are you doing?
I am lovely, Mark, and you?
I'm doing just great, just great. Where are you at right now?
We are at the Shiawassee County Fairground Truck Show in Corunna, Michigan. They're having their show today and tomorrow, which is Friday, Saturday, the 2nd and the 3rd. And they have a couple bouncy houses for the kids, some food trucks, of course. Tonight there will be a light show, and that'll be judged. And then Saturday there will be I guess a truck simulator, I guess what I'm trying to come up with. And so the public can try their hand at driving a truck, kind of. And then there will be a parade Saturday evening. It'll take off right around dusk, so it'll be kind of a light show and parade at the same time. So that should be a lot of fun, and we'll have to see how it all works out. I'm hoping to be able to go along on that run.
Well, and you've got a couple of other truck shows coming up here pretty soon, don't you?
Yeah, absolutely. The next one that we'll be going to will be in Waupun, Wisconsin, and that's the August 9th and 10th. And this is their 35th year and their final year for that truck show. They do it. They have been doing it for charity, raising money for the Reach Relief and Make-A-Wish Foundation. Then we will also be having, it's scheduled to have Louis Pugh, our vice president, up at that show. So if anybody's there, make sure to come in and talk to Louis, because he's kind of a celebrity for us out on the road. And then after that, we have the Great Salt Lake Truck Show, and that'll be the 16th and 17th of August in Lehi, Utah, at Thanksgiving Point. And they raise money for the National Kidney Foundation of Utah and Idaho. So should be a good time. These next few weekends will be kind of busy, which I like.
Well, fantastic. Well, let's go ahead and talk about some of the issues that people are bringing to you. And one of them, it's one that we've been hearing about here at headquarters as well, and that is this requirement to file what is called beneficial ownership information. And I guess you've been hearing from folks about that. Is there confusion? Do they have questions?
Yeah, some of them have not ever heard of it. And then, of course, the ones that have heard of it are kind of like me. I always get that little confusion on that the government needs more forms to be filled out when, usually if you are going to like incorporate or do an LLC and that, you have to fill out enough forms to, kill an elephant. But, and here's another form. And what a lot of people don't understand is if they don't fill it out after January 1st, there's some pretty hefty fines, and it's at $500 a day up to $10,000. I mean, that could really cripple a company over a form, which is just wrong. And of course, we all also have to be careful because as we get closer to that date of December 31st, we're going to have more basically email scammers out there trying to get your information, so you got to be careful of that. And of course, I encourage anybody and everybody to call into our business services department and ask questions. If you're not sure if you are the one that has to fill that out, then just call up and ask, and they can quickly tell you that answer, yes or no. And if you have any confusion on how to do it, our guys can help step you through that.
And it's not terribly urgent. I mean, I think we've got till December 31st, right?
Yeah. So it's not, oh my gosh, we got to do it today, but don't let it go and then forget about it. That's the, the thing that does happen. It goes on the back burner, and unless we have a way to remind ourselves, you could just let that go by and totally forget about it.
Absolutely. Well, something else that you mentioned had come up, and this is something, again, we've heard about here, which is that Love's is starting to number their parking spots. And I'm betting people are pretty worried about what that might mean.
Yeah, some people have thought, well, they're going to just start charging for parking all throughout their lot. And while from the information that I have gleaned, that's not the case. The case is more that let's say something happens and you have to call into the fuel desk. You can say I'm in spot 18 or whatever that, the case may be, as well as more and more people are getting deliveries made to their truck, whether it's grocery deliveries or whether it's, the Uber Eats or, whatever brand you would choose. That way you can say I'm in spot 18. It's not that, hey, I'm in the red Western Star. They know exactly where you are with that number. So I personally think it's a great idea. Whoever came up with it, it wouldn't be bad for all of the truck stops out there to follow suit, because it does make things a lot less confusing for those delivery drivers especially. And then if, let's say you had a health event and needed, some sort of medical care, if they know what spot you're in, they're not driving around the parking lot looking to see if they can find you.
Yeah, there's a lot of good reasons to do this. And the one thing that people are worried about is just not going to happen. I mean, Love's has said, if we can trust them, and I think we can, that they are not going to charge for parking. So, accept it as a good thing and time to move on here. Something else. I mean, we got a lot of stuff going on this week here, Marty, and that is towing fees. And again, this is something that we've heard a lot about here at headquarters. What are you hearing there at the truck?
Yeah, I'm hearing a lot of that where they're just adding fees on top of fees just because they can. And, one of the, all right, I shouldn't call it a scam, but one of the things that I think is a little bit dishonest is when you call in, give them all the information, like how heavy the truck is, when you're calling for yourself, but they tell them exactly what's going on, and they send out too small of a truck to handle the job, and then they have to call out the bigger truck, and so now you have two trucks, two people, and then normally if they bring out the big wrecker, they will be also bringing out a supervisor. So all of a sudden you're paying for three people, three vehicles. It just adds up to a lot of money. And when it's really unnecessary, unless it's some really humongous, wreck that they do need all the equipment, but there's so many times that they really don't. Another way, they get you is storage fees. It's not like when they come pick up your truck, they're not going to let it sit there more than a day without starting to charge you storage fees, which I don't know. I guess we can discuss whether that is right or not. And then, of course, we've heard some horror stories about adding, fees, just ridiculous fees like working in the heat or the cold. Some of the stuff that you would think that would already be worked into the normal business, but a lot of times they're just added on.
Well, there we go. Well, we've run out of time, Marty. I'd love to talk about it more, but maybe next time. In the meanwhile, do you have any final words before you ride off into the sunset?
Hey, guys, just be kind to one another and give that guy next to you a break.
Brothers of the highway, children of of the wind.
Once again, that was Marty Ellis, who drives OOIDA's tour truck, The Spirit of the American Trucker. You can find Marty's next stop every day on our show. That's our program for today. Thank you very much for joining us. I'm Mark Reddick, and this is Landline Now.
Thanks for listening. Be sure to like and subscribe. If you want more content, go to landline.media to get updated news, information, and archived editions of our show. Once again, that's landline.media.
Capital Reman is your leading source for quality remanufactured engines and components. Capital Reman stands ready to serve all OOIDA members to help reduce costly engine repairs or replacement. Visit capitalreman.com today and use code OOIDA10 to save.
ULSD is hurting your engine. Fight back with Howe's Diesel Defender. Get the most powerful cleaning and maximum lubricity to protect and extend the life of your entire system. At a guaranteed increase in fuel economy, and you can't go wrong with Howe's.
Dispatch, I picked up that load of steel, so I'm ready to roll.
Sounds good. Remember, we're getting paid by weight, so make sure to use a CAT scale.
I wouldn't weigh anywhere else.
Forgiveness, accuracy, when your truck on a CAT scale.
I'm a dad,
a son,
a husband,
wife,
I'm a writer,
photographer.
I farm.
I'm a veteran.
I love old cars, fishing,
my kids,
chrome,
and I am
a professional truck driver.
And together we are OOIDA.
OOIDA was founded by truckers to stand up and speak on behalf of truckers. We've done that by combining the individual voices of our members into a single, powerful voice. Protecting your interests, defending your rights.
Join us! Make your voice heard. Join OOIDA, the Owner-Operator Independent Drivers Association. Call 1-800-444-5791 or visit OOIDA.com.